Okay. You can see me? You can see me now perfectly?
I can see you.
All right. So cool. Let's begin. Okay. All right. So welcome everyone to the official webinar for Magi with none other than the man himself, Dustin. Welcome.
Man in the chair.
So Dustin, how about you go ahead and introduce yourself to the folks who know they're going to see tonight dropping value bombs, so they should know who the guy is. So you can go ahead, can give a brief intro, and then we'll kick right inside Magi and let everyone see what the magical word is.
Yeah, so my name's Dustin. I'm an entrepreneur. I've been doing this online marketing and business building thing for the last about 15 years is when I started my professional journey in the digital world. Started as a designer, graphic designer, turned web designer, turned social media marketing consultant, turned SEO guy, turned all-around agency owner. Owned a online web marketing agency for about 12 of those years. Started several SaaS companies in the last 9 years. My first one was a WordPress plugin that got pretty popular, and exited that company in 2020, and have been building other small digital indie projects ever since. And I love long walks on the beach, and I love a good bourbon. Also a prolific coffee addict, by the way. So you'll see me sucking on this thing for the remainder of the webinar.
Oh man, that's amazing. I mean, coffee is without coffee we cannot survive the overnight. That's for sure. All right, that was great, Dustin. Thank you so much, and we are so glad to have you on RocketHub and let people know and that they have something to take back home today. So let's begin with the demo and let people know what magical world we are going to enter. Let's do it.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess I should log into my account first.
Yeah, that's the best account you want to see what's happening there.
Yeah. Oh, is Charlie here? There he is. Can't hear you. Can't hear you.
You're mute.
Sorry, I'm lingering in the background here.
Good to see you. Like your jacket.
Likewise.
Great color.
Yeah, that's my favorite. Jacket.
Wifey's put me in a corner in the basement.
That's awesome. All right, let me go ahead and pull up a demo here.
Sure.
So for those who don't know sort of the backstory, I guess maybe I should give a brief backstory of why I even created Magi to begin with. I've been using AI tools in my marketing of my own businesses for the last 3-4 years, I guess, is how long these AI tools have really hit the market. Things like Jasper, things like Copy AI, things, there's been millions of them. And I've always used them, and I've always gotten benefit of them. But what really bothered me about them is they were all sort of predicated on these templates. They forced you into, and maybe that's too strong a word. They allowed you to use these templates that were sort of conformed to how they thought about things. So I needed to take my goals and my creativity and fit it into their template boxes. And it was fine, but what I found myself doing a lot of the times in these tools is I'd be searching for 10 minutes just for the right template, right? It's like Netflix. You go in and you're like, oh my gosh, there's all these options. And you just get overwhelmed. And so the paradox of choice was tangible. But when ChatGPT came along, I started using it, and immediately I saw the paradigm shift. I thought, this is what it was missing. No longer do I have to fit in someone else's box. No longer do I have to sit and sort through 1,000 different templates. I could just tell the AI what I want. And it was a huge mind-blowing moment. immediately started using it, but immediately started seeing, oh my gosh, I wish it did this. I wish it did that. I wish it had folders so I can organize things. Why can't I search for my chats? Why can't I filter these chats? Why can't I invite my team? Why can't it just follow a URL? So Magi was born out of this, me trying to just solve my own problems, and having worked with creators over the last 15 years, being a creator, I thought I could solve this problem in a unique way that nobody else can, because nobody else has my experience. They might have different experiences and different strengths than I do, but nobody can solve this problem in the way that I think about it for the people that I think about it for. And so that's why Magi came to be. I wanted to solve a problem for the people that I know and love. And it turns out a handful of people appreciate it. So Magi is first and foremost a chat GPT augmentation, so to speak. It's many people on Twitter have started saying it's chat GPT on steroids, which I think fits. So we've got there's a lot to go through, so I think I'll just go at like a high level. So the first problem that I wanted to solve was search and filter my chats, right? And in Magi, you can create chats, but you can't, not more than just create them, you can actually search through them and filter them by whether it's archived or not, whether it's you or your teams, you can actually search for things. And that was important to me.
And so, Dustin, does this mean every chat that we have, you can go back, let's say, I had a prompt from 2 weeks ago, you can actually go back and say, oh, let me go see that prompt and how it responded. You don't have to keep track of that. Is that what you mean by this?
Yeah, you can easily revisit old chats that you're looking for. So that's what I was doing. I would create something and then like 3 days later be like, wait, what was that thing I made? It had like SNL style summarizations that was really fun. I can't do that in ChatGPT, but in Magi I can go SNL. I can switch to the one that I actually did it in here. So I can go SNL. Should have started in the right one. SNL. I archived it. There we go. Search and filter. So
oh, nice.
Anything
Okay.
that I did SNL, I've already archived. So it's in the archive. I can filter it. I can search for it and easily sort through, from that standpoint. And then I can pull it up and I can reopen it, revisit it, and look at everything that I did inside of that chat. So this is actually a really fun one. We can revisit it later if we have some time, but let's just start a new chat and see what the experience is like in there. So just like ChatGPT, it's you've got your input at the bottom here. I'm a stickler for interface, so I like things to be minimal, clutter-free, only give you what you need to access immediately. And so you got your input right here, and then you have two options at the top. You've got your AI model and your persona. Now, by default, Magi will default to the assistant persona. But we do have over 40 different custom-made personas, which essentially is, if you think about it this way, the AI is this, and most of the people on this know this isn't news, you're all a bunch of smart people watching and listening. The AI has tons and tons of knowledge, right? It's got this huge knowledge base, and whenever you give it a prompt, basically what it's doing is taking all of that knowledge it has and trying to assimilate it into a way that fits your given task or your given prompt. What a persona is, it's a set of crafted instructions that tells the AI how to behave and sort of the direction to start with. So instead of pulling from this massive pool of information, you're narrowing its focus so that it has a much better line of thought or line of processing to get to your desired goal faster, more effectively. And that's what personas are. Now, this is something you can do with prompts. You can prompt it to act in certain ways, and many people have become accustomed to this. But with Magi's personas, what we're actually doing is we're changing it at the system level. So many people don't know that when you start a chat in ChatGPT, it is actually given a set of system instructions or a persona. And that is simply, you are a helpful assistant. So you can prompt it on top of that. But if you read through OpenAI's documentation, they will say explicitly that the AI, specifically GPT-4, will give more weight to the system message than in the following prompts. So even if you prompt it afterwards to act in a certain way, it's still starting out with that wide base of knowledge that it's pulling from, and your instructions are being somewhat diluted. Now, how much they are, we can debate about it. But with Magi, you know for certain that you're starting that AI with system level instruction that is specific to your given task, whatever it is you need to accomplish. So whether that is being a stand-up comedian, you want it to be funny, whether that's a marketing expert, an expert copywriter, academic researcher, what have you. You can start that AI off in the right direction from the start without being diluted by GPT system messages. And the same goes with Claude. Claude doesn't have system messages, so it is just a individual starting out set of instructions, but still handcrafted, and you can create your own custom personas throughout the interface. So we also let you choose from models. So currently, Magi has access to GPT 3.5, GPT 4, and 3 versions of Claude Instant, which is about equivalent to GPT 3.5, but way faster, like neck-breaking speed faster. And then Claude, which is standard Claude, about equivalent to GPT-4. And then we have Claude 100K, which to me is the most exciting, because what that 100K represents is 100,000 token context limit, which means unlike GPT-4 and regular Claude, which can only handle about 6,000 words in a conversation, outside of that, it won't remember. It won't remember anything outside that context length. But Claude 100K can remember 75,000 words in a conversation. So if you're building long form content, if you're building transcripts from videos and working with transcripts from videos or podcasts that are, really long, Claude 100K unlocks so much potential for that. And here's the kicker: it's still way faster than GPT, like markedly faster. So Claude has actually become my default go-to AI on everything that I do. Now, GPT tends to be a little better at like formatting and calculation type stuff, but Claude is more than sufficient at all the tasks that I need it on a daily basis. Am I going too fast? Is it not enough?
Not at all. Not at all. I mean, it's pretty interesting. What's going on? I mean, people are really excited, right?
And
they
questions in the crowd?
Yeah, not yet. They have their eyes glued on what's coming next.
Okay. Well, since everybody kind of knows how these things work, before I head into the actual prompt demonstration, just want to highlight a few other things. So if you're like me, you're writing articles, you're writing web copy, you're writing tweets. It's important to not just have the AI start helping you with this stuff, but typically you're building it in some sort of a document, somewhere where you're kind of keeping all the finalized or at least drafted content that you're creating. So in Magi, I built in a document editor. You can give it a title, and then you can start writing your content right alongside the actual chat itself. So you don't have to switch tabs. You don't have to go from Google Docs back over to here, or go to your Microsoft Word app, whatever it is you use. You can build it all right here once, and then when you're done, we created a convenient little copy button. I've got the Zoom interface in the way down here. Get out of here, Zoom. Down here is a copy button. So you can hit that button, copy all the text at once, and then paste it wherever it needs to go. And this is a rich text or a plain text editor. You can kind of switch modes here depending on your preference. I'm a markdown guy, so I do everything in plain text pretty much. But for those of you who love some good formatting and appreciate good formatting, we have that as well. Now, another thing that I really needed, as soon as I started using ChatGPT, I immediately realized I needed to reuse certain prompts that I was giving it, right? So like if you're building products and you have set product descriptions, you tend to use those product descriptions over and over again, right? And so what I was doing is having to save it in like a notepad or something, and then every time come over back and forth, copy, paste. So Magi has built in a way to save your prompts and then easily access them from within the interface. And this is really, really helpful because it's just a single click and then a single paste into the input, and you have your entire prompt. And this goes well beyond just, initial prompts. It's things like product info, or here's a really great use case is demographic info. Again, marketing is a huge part of my background. So if you have a set demographic that you're always creating content for, it's great to have that information easily accessible, so you can copy and paste and say, here's my demographic info, and not have to write it all over again. Really, really helpful to have that right there. And of course, you can create new prompts pretty easily right within the interface. Those are pretty much the flagship features of why I needed to create this, basically to make my life easier and creating content easier, making it more streamlined, bringing it all into one interface. Are we doing good so far?
Yep, amazing.
Okay, so here's the thing that like a lot of people really love is we all know that with ChatGPT, it can't read current information. It doesn't have current information. It was cut off in 2021. It can't go and read websites for you unless you pay for ChatGPT Plus and get their web browsing feature. And even that, if you used it, it's a little wonky or maybe nuanced, right? So instead of relying on it to do its own searches and hopefully get the thing that I'm looking for, a lot of times I found myself, I just want it to know what's on this particular web page. And I want to use that information in my interactions with it. So I built the ability into Magi to read any URL. And the way that I like to demonstrate this is to go to my favorite news website, The Verge. Any fans of The Verge out there?
Oh, it's amazing.
Crickets. Let me pick. I'm going to pick a newer one, just so we know that this is not something that it could have archived. And let me grab this link. So I'm going to grab the URL, go back over to Magi here, and I'm going to say summarize this page. Now I've got all these zoom controls in the way, so I can't actually see what I'm writing.
Oh yeah,
there we go.
Yep.
I spelled it wrong. Summarize.
Just add an extra M. That's it.
There we go. Summarize this page. I'm going to paste the link. Okay, we know this is a brand new article. This isn't something that ChatGPT already has or Claude already has. And I'm going to use Claude because, again, it's faster. And I'm just going to hit send. And because Claude is so fast and it's actually really good at summarization, we should get it here in less than, I would say, 20 seconds. Should have started a timer. Of course, I don't know how long that article is. This could totally backfire. Oh, there we go. So there we go. Full summarization of the page, a URL. All I did was give it a simple instruction and I pasted the link. And essentially what happened in the background was Magi uses a web crawler API. It recognizes the URL in your prompt. It crawls the page, pulls all the text from the page, and it delivers it to the AI along with your prompt. So your prompt is augmented with the information from that URL. And once you have the information from the AI, once you have some messages here, you have a few options. You can copy the text. If you want to bring it over to the document editor and paste that in, you can do that, make modifications. Here's another thing too. You can actually edit the AI's response. This was something that I found useful when I was having it generate article content or knowledge-based content, and maybe it had some things in there that were good, but maybe it had some things that were wrong or off or I didn't want included. So you can actually just go in, modify the AI's response, and that way, when you continue the conversation, it's not seeing the stuff that you don't want it to remember. You're effectively editing the entire conversation so that it won't be included in the rest of the conversation. And you can save your prompt right from here. You can copy right from here. And that's Magi in a nutshell. Of course, there's plenty of things we can go over too as well. It has, we've built in an image editor that will allow you to generate images using DALL-E. And it comes up with some pretty interesting stuff. It is not the greatest image generator in the world, but very soon I'll have integrated Leonardo.ai, and that will be a huge upgrade to the image generator. But if you're great at image prompting, if you're a great image prompt engineer, this will work pretty well for you. You can just simply tell it to, do a photo of a puppy dressed like a gangster rapper. Why not? That's always my go-to for some reason. So it's going to send that request off to DALL-E. DALL-E will do its best to render it, and then it'll show up here in our editor. Oh man, that guy's had a rough upbringing. You can tell. You can tell he's got some character in there. Some other utilities in here: background remover, background replacer. You can actually replace the background using AI. We'll just say what do we want to put in the background? Is he going to be sitting in a nightclub?
Ew. But he's in a ghetto.
He looks like he'd be chilling in a nightclub. He's had a hard day.
There it is. Nice.
And we've got an upscaler in there as well. Some of these tools that you see here, like Rework Image and Apply Design, those are not yet released. I'm using my administrative account, so you might see some buttons that aren't quite ready for production. I should have logged into the other account, but sneak peek for those who are here.
We want to see the future. What's coming in? Here's what you're gonna get.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the image editor. You can of course pull up any of your previous ones. You can search your previous images. All of your image generations live in here, and you can revisit them, rework them as needed. There we go. So that's the image editor. And then you have an image library where you can, again, sort through and filter and find all these things. You can see what prompt you used in it. This was an upload, so there's no prompt there. This little guy. Favorite them, download them, delete them, all that fun stuff. You have your saved prompts library where all your saved prompts live. And then your brands page where all of your brands are listed out. Now, this is something I didn't talk about in the beginning because there are other things to talk about. But everything you do inside of Magi is sort of siloed in the sense that if you're like me and you have maybe you have a business and then maybe you have a side hustle and maybe you have some personal things, you don't always want those things to intermingle. You don't want to have a list of all of those things in the same place. At least I don't anyways. I like my workspace to be as clutter-free as possible. So effectively what brands are a way to sort of separate your workspaces. And I think that's something I got from you, Charlie, the term workspaces. So when you're in your chats, whatever brand you have selected, those are the only chats you see, the chats that were made for that brand. So if I wanted to go to my personal brand, it would completely filter that list by only the things I created while using that brand. And you can, change it back and forth as needed. And that way, it's another layer of organization and keeping your life less crazy. Because as a dad with 3 kids running around, any way I can make my life less crazy is a good thing. So, and that's Magi.
Great, looks amazing. People have been appreciative of the experience that they're getting. That's one of the biggest things, and what it's going to do for them. So they're a fan of the experience and how it's going to solve for them. And the Claude thing, it's when they heard that Claude's coming in, they lost their minds. Oh, it's there. So that was again one of the great things. Amazing. So we get started with the questions and discussions. If anyone who has questions can put in the chat or the question box, and we will take it up for you. Right. There's one question.
Jeff, I am using Arc, and it's amazing.
There's one question from Fahad. I think if you can read it in the Q&A box, it's big. If you can see it.
I cannot see it.
Okay, there's one question in the chat. We then take it up your question, Fahad. So will Midjourney be integrated as well?
Midjourney, something I would love to integrate. Obviously, it is by far the best image generator on the market, like without question. Leonardo is close to Midjourney, but still Midjourney is so far ahead of everyone else. So far as I've known, and I'm stalking them in every way I can, they are not planning on, at least anytime soon, releasing API access. If and when they do release API access, guaranteed I will be the first one to know. Because I'm tracking it, and I will be the first one working on it to get it integrated. But I can't make any promises, obviously, because this is 100% dependent on whether or not they actually do. In the meantime, I'm always looking for other ways to integrate better and more AI models into Magi. One of the big goals is to be a source of the best AI models and to put them in a singular interface so that people can interact with them instead of having to have multiple billing, multiple apps, multiple tabs. So yeah, really excited about that. The Leonardo AI integration soon. Midjourney, can't make any promises.
Whenever it comes in.
I can promise I am highly focused on getting it if it's available.
Got it. Okay, so there's a question from Vampali. Says how to use Magi for Quora marketing. Like questions and then pasting and then answering them on Quora.
Yeah, I mean it's very simple. If you're it's a great marketing channel if you can utilize it. Find great questions on there, and post great answers. So simply go over to Quora, find a good question. If you know the answer, I would say answer it first and put it into Magi and see if Magi has any suggestions to make it better. If you don't know the answer exactly, maybe put it into Magi, work with Magi a little bit on the answer, and then once you understand the answer, then put it over in Quora. I wouldn't recommend answering questions that you actually don't know the answer to, but really just utilize Magi as a way to refine your answers and to make them more eloquent or maybe easier to understand. For any developers out there, sometimes it's hard to take a concept that you know so well and break it down to people who don't know that concept so well. And that's one of the things that I think AI is great for, is simplifying content or concepts that are maybe hard to break down for us who know too much.
Got it. Amazing. Cool. So we take Fahad's question now. So I will read it out for you. So he says, guys, this question might be naive, but could someone tell me whether we could use Magi to create, build, and explore a particular character and persona? And once we have enough traits built around that character, then can we use that character to answer contextual questions so that we may understand how such characters respond to the contextual situations and extrapolate it to the real life characters? Hope his question is clear.
Yes, that's an amazing question, and something that I only discovered or realized after I built personas is that I can actually use the AI to create personas. And so really, and this is a very high level application. And of course, somebody from this community would ask about it. So there's two ways really to utilize personas. There's the output approach, where you are setting it in a specific set of directions, or you're giving it a personality because you want it to produce output under that personality. Now, here's another way to go about it, is use the AI to interact with a personality. So from a marketing standpoint, I'll start with marketing, then I'll go to what you actually said, explain it multiple ways. So from a marketing standpoint, let's say I want to know more about my target audience. Maybe I don't know a whole lot about that target audience. I can craft a persona around that target audience. I can, create a persona that says, you're a single mother raising 2 children in middle America between the ages of 35 and 45, and just leave it at that. Then I can have a conversation with the AI and say, what are some of the things you struggle with? What are some of the problems you deal with on a day-to-day basis? And get information as an exercise to learn more about my target market. How does this apply to creating a character for a story? Same way, same exact way. So let's say you have an idea, or at least a rough outline of a character. I would say start with, we have a persona in there called storyteller. It's already crafted for helping you create stories. And so maybe start with that persona, right? And say, I have an idea for this character. What are some other character traits I should keep in mind? Or what are some other backstory things that I should keep in mind? Help me build this character. Just talk to it. Just ask it to help you. As it helps you craft that character, you can refine the description of that character. You can refine, the traits and personality quirks of that character, the backstory, and you can formulate that into a simple and concise description, which you can then turn into a custom persona, save it, and then open up a new chat with that custom persona and start interacting with that character. Maybe ask it, what are some things that you think about? How would you handle this situation? How might you handle this situation? And it could be a really fun exercise in fictional character creation to help you formulate characters that have depth and actually feel real. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, pretty comprehensive. That's great. All right, so we have Norbert asking a question about what effect do brands have apart from being sort of a tag or folder, as far as he understands. You can describe a style there. What effect does it have? I mean, will you add personalities in brands? That's what he says. Or you got the question?
That's a really great question. As of now, it's just a segmenting feature, but I don't know if anybody noticed. There is something that is built into Magi already, but it is not quite finalized and fully integrated. You notice on each brand here, I have a section called brand voice. And this is important for brands who are creating content, but they're very specific about what their brand voice is. And they want to make sure that everything that is created is associated with that brand voice. So in probably about a week or so, I'll have this fully integrated. But the idea is you'll be able to put in your brand voice description into Magi. And when you have that brand selected, the AI will automatically know what that brand voice is supposed to be, so that everything it outputs is colored by that brand voice that you put in there automatically. So if you don't want it to use the brand voice, there will be a little toggle in there that says do not use brand voice, or you can just leave it blank. But if you do, if that is important to you to have a consistent brand voice for all your content, it will be automatically added there. So it will be, at that point, it'll be more than just a way to segment your chats. But as of now, as of this current day, yeah, it is simply a way to segment and separate things.
Yep. Yeah, this is like kind of the magic right here, I think, in terms of people like me who have multiple businesses, each with their own tone, style, palette, things like that. Yeah. I'd be using this to set all of my brands up, and then my team can go in and produce social media captions, blog posts, very cool. And as obviously AI gets more advanced, the brand settings can get more advanced too, right? Whether it be for images or it be for content, written content. I think all of this gets more advanced. You iterate, and I've actually noticed you're always in lockstep with everything AI, so that's great. I think it just gets more and more powerful.
Addiction, really. I can't help it.
Yeah, AI addiction. I'm with you, man. I'm with you.
Even worse than my coffee.
Amazing. Okay, so has the LTDA discount expired? Yes, it has. If you haven't grabbed it, you still can. It's something which you would use it for life. So don't miss it just for a discount. Like, go and grab it. Have fun with AI. So Norbert asks a question about, can it trigger a general web research on a specific topic?
Yeah, currently no. Web search is not something I've built in yet. It is something that I have on the docket to explore. The challenge really with doing web searches, in the way that most of the feedback that I've gotten, people want it to be done, is it can be very difficult in terms of maintaining context length. So going back to how the AI can only remember so many words in a conversation. Right now, Magi has a hard limit for that. The top thing on my list right now is going past the context length, allowing the user to know, hey, it's going to start forgetting stuff, by the way, but you can keep the conversation going. But when you do a web search, you don't really know how much content it's going to get. You can try and control it to an extent, I think, but there's just a lot of unknown factors of what will be produced by that. And so it's going to take me some time to really find an elegant solution to it so that it does exactly what you think it will do without causing too much, without taking too much from what you can actually do once you get those results. So like if it does a web search and it finds 3 articles, and those 3 articles are 3,000 words apiece, you can't do anything with it at that point because it exceeds the context length, because the AI has to read all those words and now becomes part of its context length, and then you are rendered unable to actually do anything with that information. So got to come up with a way to really make sure that when you do that sort of search and web search type of features, that it's actually useful. And so I'm gonna spend a lot of time thinking about that before releasing it, because nothing worse than doing something and getting stuff back and then going, oh wait, now I can't do anything with it. And then wasting all your word usage on it, right? You can't actually do anything.
Yeah, it's metered. Okay. Cool. So so we have a question. Whether the plugins that's available inside the ChatGPT Plus will be kind of brought into Magi.
Yeah, so that's another unknown as well. I haven't heard that OpenAI is going to be making plugins available via API, because again, Magi interfaces with GPT through the API, and so whatever they offer via API, we can absolutely access. But I don't know that they'll be allowing access to plugins through that. There's a lot of requests for it. If you go into the OpenAI forum, there's a lot of people asking for these access to plugins. Specifically, the web search one is one a lot of people want. It would save us developers a lot of time having to find our own solution. But yeah, we just don't know. We don't know if they're going to allow that. And so, really, we're just limited by what OpenAI allows to their API. In the meantime, I'm going to keep looking for other solutions.
Makes sense. Cool. So there's a question from Fred. Will the brand voice feature be able to scrape the entire website and not just the homepage?
That's a good question as well. So again, going back to context length. So the way that that Magi works now is it is a web page scraper. So it will scrape one URL at a time and pull all that information and pull all the content from that page into the conversation. So in theory, you could, in a sense, have it do one web page, have it summarize that web page, and then turn that into a brand voice. I've actually done that with my own content. It was a very simple workflow. I opened up the AI and I said, I'm going to feed you some of my articles, and I want you to analyze my voice, my tone, and my word usage, and come up with a concise description of what my brand voice is. And so it did that. And I fed it, I think, 4 or 5 articles of mine, and it came up with a very good, concise brand voice description. So you can kind of do that right now. But again, if you were to say, have it scrape an entire website, the AI wouldn't be able to handle that. Claude 100K might be able to handle the amount of words on your website as long as it's less than 75,000. But if you're like me, you've got, that's like 5 blog posts. So yeah, it all goes back to really the context length. I mean, you can put hundreds of thousands of words in there, but it won't remember all of them, and therefore you can't actually do useful stuff with those words, unless you use something like an embedding model, which is a completely different set of AI functionality that a lot of apps are using to create these sort of customized chatbots for websites. But currently, that's beyond my knowledge, my realm of knowledge. I'm trying to stay laser focused on the helpful chat assistant model. And so in the meantime, the workarounds are, do one page at a time, have it analyze those words and come up with a brand voice based on each individual page and then summarizing it.
Got it. Makes sense. That's amazing. That's a great answer. I think that will help a lot of people. Can I upgrade my LTD with another code? Sure, email us about the details. We'll check it out, what we can do for you, Jessica. Thanks. There's another question from Zaki. So this is interesting. Can we structure the output? Let's say I want to create a business case with specific structure, with technical content, table, ROI summary, and stuff. I want to input specific required items, and it just gives the output as the document for me. Like have raw data go in and gives a table with stuff. So can it do that? Like have.
Yeah. Actually, GPT is really good at structure. Really good at following structure instructions and formatting instructions. Claude isn't as good. I'm sure it'll get better, but at this point in time, Claude is not as good at formatting and structure as GPT. Now, the problem is GPT is slow, and if you ask for a lot of structured content at one time, obviously it takes, the more you ask for, the longer it takes to produce. And oftentimes the OpenAI servers tend to time out after about 90 seconds or so. So, unfortunately, with Magi setup, we can't actually see the typing. So in ChatGPT, you can actually see it typing in real time and processing. Magi has to wait for that entire request to be finished before OpenAI we can show the OpenAI finalized request. And so if your request is a lot of structure and a lot of formatting, then it can tend to take a long time and in many cases will fail. But if you ask for upfront, here's the structure I'm going for, here's the formatting, produce this little section of it. It will do really well if you section it off, and actually produces much better content when you create section by section. So that's an overly comprehensive answer to the question that yes, you can. GPT is really good at formatting, as long as you take it in fair sized chunks.
Got it. That's amazing. All right. So, Dustin, we had a lot of, comments around the, the debates actually happening between the two sides. So one is the API keys and one is without API keys. And everyone wants to hear from you. Like, let's kind of end it for once. What do you think about that? So users can see, and what's the benefit of using Magi, because it's built for convenience, right? It's built for everyone to just come in, start chatting, get the answers, use it for their own use case. So let's summarize this once for all and let people know, like, what's the matter.
Yeah, and I totally appreciate that a lot of the community here, the RocketHub community, they are power users. They are the people who have knowledge. They're on top of technology, and they're on top of all the new things. All right, because like you guys, that's what you do. You tell them about the new things, and that's the type of people they are. I built Magi for the average person who just wants to get their work done. They have a lot of work to do, and they're too busy or they just don't know enough about the industry to want to be able to fuss with API keys or want to be able to manage multiple billing. Many of these people work for a company, so asking that company to pay for Magi and then to also pay for an API key that's based on usage. They want predictable expenses, and they want streamlined expenses. And for that reason, I focused on that user. I focused on the convenience aspect. And even though I am managing multiple API keys, like I don't want to do that. That's not something I want to do. I see tools as, how much am I saving from an energy and time standpoint? And is that worth the maybe additional premium that I'm paying? So, even if you're paying for, $300 or $400, say, for a lifetime deal, is it going to is it going to increase your ability to make money? Is it going to make you at least $400? Because if that's the case, then of course it's worth it. And, you don't need your own API key, on top of, just the math, right? You do the math, lifetime deal, one-time payment, and, or you can just accumulate your own bill over time and continue to pay. So, it's really a matter of simplicity. I won't rule it out because obviously I want to serve people, and I want to serve, the people who are benefiting most from Magi. And, maybe down the road, we implement something that allows people to add their API key to it and, sort of go beyond their monthly quota of words, because that seems to be the real thing. Like, people don't want to be limited to the word, the word limits that the Magi had. They want to be able to go outside that and not be limited. So I totally get that. But as a solo founder, I'm the only guy in the chair. I'm the only one here building things. And so I have to, really be diligent about prioritizing what things I build and what things I don't build. And, right now, the primary benefit to the people who are benefiting the most and getting the most out of it, they don't need that. And they just need to get their work done. And so managing highest return and highest value features for my users is sometimes you have to say no to some really good ideas. And yeah, that's about it. I feel for the developers and the people out there that want to do it, but I just don't have the bandwidth to build it, because it would be a massive overhaul of the structure. Because everything's predicated on this monthly renewal cycle of words and usage, and to sort of go in there and restructure everything it'd be a massive undertaking at this point. And priorities.
Correct. True. And that's what I think we also believe, that, if there's a SaaS you're using or there's any tool you're using, just need to go ahead and use the tool and don't see the limits or the metered number going up, once you use it. So you should be stress-free about that. Oh, if I consume this, what's the number, which is going to increase? You're just focusing on that. And then you're paying monthly bills, right? So go ahead, use the tool for you, benefits, go and generate that image you want, paste it, use it, and then do your business, right? ChatGPT is an assistant. So that's what I think, that experience is what Magi sells. That's a great answer. I think that summarizes it.
Yeah, I'd probably reinforce that with, I don't really see as much value in bringing your own key, especially in this scenario where Dustin and Magi have been generous with the GPT-4 credits, whereas other apps don't. Remember, the only reason other apps tell you to bring your own API key is because they don't want to pay for it. So, they don't want to pay for what you're going to have to pay for. So what you're really doing in that scenario is truly buying just a wrapper. In this case, you're actually buying the actual business and the functionality and everything that comes along with it and their inherent costs. So I just don't see the logic there. Plus, I think yesterday I did a quick video to demonstrate the kind of just the cost analysis of how much value Magi is providing. And I'll share that with people in the group. But once you see that, I think anybody who's on the fence or saying this is expensive, I think you may have to eat your words, because the math just pans out. This is a great deal. And I think Dustin and Magi obviously are in it to win. So they're not disappearing next month or the following month. So you can rest assured that this is a RocketHub quality deal.
Of course. And even, when you talk about different models, right? So you're not just getting GPT or open AI's models, you're getting Claude and you're getting Bard, which is, if you go and separate, you have those inside, you get a lot of bills. Like you would say, heck it, you go and use Magi instead. They have everything at one place. You just have to shift which model you want to use, right? Otherwise, you have to go back to Claude's dashboard and then use typing mind and other those things. These are just hassles you don't want to have. Why to have an extra tension in your life? That's what you should avoid. All right, that's great. Cool. I think that's the answer everyone wanted to hear. So that's good. I'll bring in one last question from my side, which again, I think it's a common question we already answered, but people keep asking that. So that becomes an FAQ. which is the future addition of versions of GPT and others. So like how it's going to accommodate inside the chat area and where they start their journey from. This is a common question which is coming in every group we go. So I think we should answer in a video format, and from you, we should hear from you.
Yeah, so it's a hard problem to project because
Great.
Here, if you know the history of GPT, so GPT-3 came out and it was pretty great, and that's where all these Jaspers and all these copy AIs came from. And the cost of that API was one thing. And then they released ChatGPT, and the API cost was like decreased by 10 times. It was like 10 times cheaper, but it was a smarter, better model. And I was ecstatic because like I was building all my pricing based on like, oh man, I can give people 1 million words and they could just never worry about hitting that limit. Well, then GPT-4 came out and the increase in price was, if I remember correctly, it was like 2,900% increase in cost. And I was devastated because, and I left this part out, but a lot of my prior work, my early work was with nonprofits. And so a lot of how I structure things is with nonprofits in mind, knowing that budgets are tight. And, I feel for that because I came from that. And so like that devastated me, but I worked really hard to come up with a pricing model and a structure that makes things easy for people to understand and is fair. I looked at all the other AI copywriters out there, the popular ones, and I was like, man, they're just way overcharging. How can I create a sustainable business model and still give people access without overcharging them? And that's kind of what I did. And so that's the principle I will continue to use when they come out with a new model. And if it is more expensive, I will be open and transparent about what it's going to cost. And I will never, ever overcharge for without number one, giving people the option, and number two, informing them ahead of time. And so if it does cost more, I'll just have to come up with either an additional tier or an additional calculation that says X number of GPT-5 words is 1.5 GPT-4 words. I'll have to come out with a compromise of sorts to make sure that the value is maintained for the user, but also make sure it doesn't break the business. And if you follow me for any amount of time, that transparency is something I value, and I will always be transparent in that journey. So can't predict it, can't anticipate it. Might be cheaper, might be more expensive, but I will always make sure that my users are along for the ride.
Cool. And I think that's the right way to do things. I know others don't necessarily always honor that, but I have full faith in you. And for those that want, like, we made sure at the beginning of this deal to just document exactly that in the FAQ. So you can see it there as well. Dustin's a stand-up guy, so he'll always do right by the community.
Correct. And even I had a point, like, if you are, you guys are thinking about GPT-5, like, go ahead and start using GPT-4. Kind of be around it more. GPT-5 will come over. It's still kind of in the development stage. They're still working on it. So we should think of it. That's very obvious. Of course, we should start using GPT-4 extensively and then kind of shift the focus. They eventually bring it out because they want people to use it. They want wide usage. GPT-3 is, I think, it's only like very little population on Earth even knows what AI is. And then very little knows what GPT-3 is. And then very little knows what GPT-4 is. So that 5 is like 0.0001% of who you never know. So that's one thing. You should start using it and share the feedback. That's what I'd say. GPT-5 will come in, we kind of accommodate on GPT-4 grade. That's how it's going to work.
I think a lot of people are thinking about it because
that's good. That's good.
The leap from 3.5. The leap from 3.5 to 4 happened really fast.
Yes,
but they don't realize that GPT-3 to 4 was years in the making. And so, we could be looking at GPT-5 3 years from now. And, in that amount of time, you would have gotten multiple times over your investment in Magi in GPT-4 credit. So
even Sam Altman says, don't even talk about GPT-5. It's not in the works.
yeah, even he says it. So, and for those who don't know, he's the founder of OpenAI.
Exactly.
And he's the one who said AI can kill you, right? Imagine that thing going on, like you would even, I don't want to say that.
We haven't even gotten all of the GPT-4 features yet. Like they announced a bunch of different features that still aren't released yet. Like the 32K model I'm still waiting on access to that. The multimodal, being able to interpret images is not out yet. So we got lots of time left on GPT-4.
And then they're coming up with competition, right? They have competition. Google is catching up slowly. Then we need to see Bard's version. We have Bard version 1, then Claude's version 1, then 2. Right. So these are in the works. Everyone's going to try that. So with Magi, you're going to try each and every version of every model. Like with all those other tools, I think you have to pay for the API key. So yeah. So I think we'll go with the last question.
There's one question here. I want to make sure we hit Kiran, I think is how you pronounce his name. He said, will Leonardo.ai be integrated with Magi? I addressed that earlier, but I just want to make sure to answer him. Yes, Leonardo is number 2 on my list. Number 1, context length. Number 2, get Leonardo in there because I love using Leonardo.
Good. And we are waiting for Midjourney to kind of open its API and Dustin with the first one to implement that. So Magi with the first one to implement that. That's what he has said. So that's the promise. All right.
Yeah. I'm in their Discord. I'm watching every message. I'm in their forums. I've got an alert system based on like that's monitoring their documentation pages. Anytime they make a change in there, I get an email. Like I am stalking those people.
All right, that's amazing. Cool.
I see one other question related. I know the answer to this, but I'll let Dustin take the wheel here. It was related to stable diffusion, which again, so someone asked the question. I've actually explored stable diffusion. I do have one stable diffusion model built into Magi. It's just not public facing because it has some issues. And I wasn't happy with the reliability of it. So I did not release it publicly. But Leonardo it's using stable diffusion. It's a stable diffusion model. But happy to get requests. Like if anybody has a stable diffusion model that they've used and they would like to see it integrated in Magi, happy to explore it. But again, like I feel like my job is to not just incorporate anything and everything, it's to incorporate the best. And I really want the best possible models. And I've explored several different things and they weren't up to my standards. And so open to it 100%, as long as it's reliable and produces great stuff.
All right. I think that's it from the questions. We have covered everything. Yep, we're done. Yep, and everyone who hasn't bought it yet, so go ahead. It's live on rockethub.com/deal/Magi. You can go ahead and grab your code if you haven't yet. It will be live till 20th. We're doing 15 days. So after that, there's nothing. You then go ahead and pay the MRR and have Dustin one new customer. All right. Exactly. So cool. Dustin, thank you so much. I think it was amazing. Every time we converse, we have discussions, we learn something and the community learns something. Okay.
Yeah.
We have one.
I love hanging out with you guys. I'm an extrovert, so this is the best part of my day. And so if anybody has questions, if you're still working through, questions, you come up with, if you're like me and like 10 minutes later, you come up with like the best question ever, just reach out to me on Twitter. I love answering tweets or pop into Magi and open up a live chat.
Yep. Before we have a last question from Zaki. There's a question says about the document upload.
Yes. I don't know if anybody noticed as I was doing my demo, you might have seen a little PDF button at the bottom that nobody else can see. Did you catch that? I was like, they're going to see it. I do actually have, I'm building in some document conversion mechanisms so that you can upload a document into the chat. The PDF one is working. but there's some formatting issues that will break the JSON code. So I'm working out the bugs there. But it's in the works, because obviously this is something a lot of people want to do. They want to upload, documents or PDFs, and so yeah, it's on the way, guys. I promise. There's so many things on the way, and I'm working as fast as I can. So don't be afraid to like bug me about them, because
Dustin is
I'm
great
happy
on,
to get bugged.
great on Twitter. You guys should go ahead and follow him. I mean, he does stand-up comedy on Twitter and also like publish his stuff. So like he does great stuff when we see him there. So it's like good seeing his tweets, right? Go ahead and follow him. And even follow Magi's Twitter handle. Every update is being posted over there. Also, you can go ahead and see the roadmap at magi.co/roadmap if you want to see what's coming next, what's being worked upon, and what's already implemented. So you have an idea of what you missed if you didn't grab this. All right, perfect. I think one sec before we go. Any plans to add SEO optimized content feature?
Sorry, I said the
Any
SEO
plans to add SEO optimized
SEO.
content feature? Yeah.
That's a challenge. That would be a lot more. So I really believe that should be a specialized tool. I want to say yes to it, but because SEO is such a moving target, it would really, to be good, because I know way too much about SEO, to be good at it, you would have to specialize in it. So I would defer people to Inc. It is an AI powered app that helps you write SEO content. I would defer people to that, because they are extremely good at SEO content. So I would love to. Maybe someday we'll grow to the point where I can hire somebody and that will be their entire job, is just the SEO functions. But to really be good, and there are so many tools out there that claim they are SEO optimized content producers, and they suck. They are lying to you. And I'm not one to make false promises. So I will not, that's not on my radar. It's not on my list. It's not on the roadmap, because I really believe it should be a specialized tool, because that kind of thing they need to be entirely focused on that and maintaining it and improving it every single day, because SEO changes every single day. So yeah.
And if he's getting that SEO insight, the MRR is going to be double. I mean, you see the pricing going like, sure. Because that thing takes a lot of effort and money to kind of put in. It's very expensive to have an SEO tool being maintained
before they realize they're not charging enough.
Yeah.
And maybe grab them for a lifetime deal. See if they'll do it.
That's a great idea, right? Let's hit them.
Reach out to Alexander. Alexander is the CTO over there.
Oh yeah, I mean, you do share his Twitter, so I kind of hop in and ask how is he doing. Great. So thanks, Dustin. I think it was great having you. Thank you so much for taking out your precious time of building Magi and other stuff and hopping into RocketHub's official webinar. It was great having you, and thank you, everyone. Thanks, Charlie.
Thanks, guys.
Everyone coming in.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye. And we'll share this recording with you. So take care. All right.
Awesome.
See you, Dustin. Thank you so much. And let's do it. All right, everyone. Bye-bye. See you.